Oh, now it says live. We're on. But we've lost your camera. There we go.
We are live. We have one person, it says apparently, out of 40 total registered. But they may be logging in now. So I think we're a minute early. Oh, we have now got 2 people live. So if you've joined us, welcome. It's 8 o'clock with Gabriella and myself for this webinar called which one's this one? Dating with more joy and less anxiety. There are a few things that we've got going. So it seems that people are slowly joining us. So we're just going to give it a few minutes and give everyone a chance to log on that is joining. We've now got 13 people. So hello 13 people. And as I was saying, we'll give everyone a couple of minutes to join the webinar, to get logged on, find their way around, check their mic and speakers are all working and everything else, and we'll get started soon.
Yes, Ankush. Hi, Ankush. How are you?
I'm well. I think they can still hear us, so maybe we just wait. Should we just sit here and just smile at everyone?
We can talk, I think.
Well, just remember, that everything that we say is being recorded, and it's going to be automatically beamed out to the world after this event. So no pressure.
Okay. I'll just smile. Just smile and wait.
Well, smile and wave, like the penguins from Madagascar. Smile and wave, boys. Okay, 15 people live.
Can you tell who's live, or you can just tell the number of people?
Oh, let me have a look. Okay, yeah, it does. So,
great.
Niels, I don't know if I'm pronouncing the name right. Yer, Kirsi, Eva, Oscar, Nico, Aman, Holly, Arthur, Matthias, Steve, Babs, Tatiana, Alfred, and Maria. Those are the 15 people we have on at the moment.
I wonder if it's Maria from Russia. This is Maria from Russia. Hi, Maria. How are you?
There is a chat functionality. So I know Arthur has sent us a little message. Hello, Gabriella and Kush. Arthur is here by share. Look.
I don't think I can see that. Ankush, I don't think I can see the chat. I think the only chat that I can see is, I think, between you and I.
Okay, Maria is saying hi from Maria from Russia.
Ah, Maria from Russia. Hi, Maria.
Yeah, if anyone else wants to say hello, please feel free to just say hello to us on the chat, and we'll give you a shout out, is what the kids call it.
A shout out. And I wonder if Tatiana is from Russia too. Hi, Tatiana. Tatiana, are you from Russia?
Holly says hola, everyone.
Hola, Holly.
Niels is saying correct pronunciation. So great. It's seem to have people on. We'll give everyone another minute and then we'll get started.
Is Eva from the San Jose?
I believe it is. Eva, why don't you send us a message if you can see us and hear us?
Well, I feel like we're amongst friends, so this is great.
Yeah, I guess you know a lot of the people that are here. Okay. Tatiana is also from Russia. Yeah, that's what Maria has said.
Great. Privet, Tatiana. That's all my Russian. Privet.
Yeah. What she said. That's one more Russian word than I know. I don't know. Is vodka a Russian word? Maybe
vodka, probably.
I don't know.
Vodka.
We have Steve. Steve says, hi, Steve, here from the exotic location of Birmingham.
Oh, wow.
Close to me.
Great.
And Eva says, hi, Gabby. Yes, it's me. Eva says that. So.
Oh, great. Hi, Eva.
Okay. Seems like no one else has joined in the last few minutes, so I think we can just get started.
Sounds great. Sounds great. So originally, Ankush and I met yesterday. We were chatting for a few minutes, and we want to start by telling you why we wanted to do this webinar. So I'm going to let Ankush begin.
Yeah, so well, let me maybe tell the story of kind of how all of this came about, because I'm guessing most people don't know that. So I think most people that are here are aware that I do a relationship series podcast, and I've been doing that for just over a year with a couple of people. So Corey, who's online, hello Corey, has been helping do that, and Hank, who's going to be listening to this on replay, hello Hank. We've been doing this podcast, and so I've been interviewing different teachers who share the principles behind State of Mind, and one of these teachers, one of the recent people I interviewed was Gabriella, and I only recently heard of Gabriella. I was told about you from Hank, and Hank said, oh, I don't know where he'd seen something by you, but he said, oh, you've got to have Gabriella on your podcast. And I also read a quote by you in Jack Bransky's book, Somebody Should Have Told Us. So unbeknownst to me, what I was letting myself in for, I sent you an email, and we arranged to have the to do the podcast. And before we recorded, we had this conversation where I can't remember laughing so much with a fellow coach and practitioner. And then we did the interview, and when we were recording the interview, in my head, my wheels were going and saying, oh, I would love to do an event with you. And I've never had that. Of all the great people that I've interviewed, I've really enjoyed interviewing them, but I've never felt that. And when we finished recording the podcast, you said before I could say anything, let's do an event together. And so that was some great kind of synchronicity, and it was great that we were on the same page. And that's kind of just evolved from that random thought of let's put an event together to us putting an event in November and then doing these webinars where we're just basically talking about relationships. And this is the first webinar, and this one is around dating, having more fun, less anxiety. But if you're on here and you're not dating, there's still things that you can relate this to, and dating's kind of just a nice metaphor, if you like, of what we're talking about. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Gabrielle.
Well, yeah, I think that the theme for our working relationship, and the theme also for our lives, seems to be this idea of fun and having just a joyful time. And, as you were reflecting on how things happened, when we first started talking, you and I, we absolutely had no agenda. I mean, we were going to do something together. You were going to do an interview, but that was about it. And I think you're right. We just laughed so much. I think the hour went by, and it's like, okay, let's go ahead, let's do it. But it was just really interesting to me how, even though we have not met, how effortless and gentle and funny also our time together has been. So we are hoping to translate some principles of what's happened in our own professional relationship into dating, and like you said, in other arenas of our lives. And the reason why I think this topic was close to my heart is because I have a few friends that are in the dating world, and it is often that they experience dating as a drag and just something very difficult. There's a lot of games, not something that they tend to look forward to. So I just wanted to spend some time with you in the same line of lightheartedness and talk about what allows for joy in relationships, and why also you can experience relationships, whether you're dating or in a long-term relationship, with a sense of drag and stress and anxiety. So I'm looking forward to extend
that's a really good point. I mean, we were talking, prior to this webinar about what we wanted to talk about, and I think this is probably a very good opportunity for me to embarrass myself and tell all of the misunderstandings that I had in the dating world, and hopefully share those, not just for your pure enjoyment, but hopefully as a lessons of what not to do as well, because I can totally relate to that. And kind of in my own dating life, just having so much misunderstanding, which wasn't just to do with dating. It was to do with all relationships, but manifested for me in the kind of dating world, and it always looked like it was the other person, right? Like my experience of dating was down to the other person, and didn't really take into account that it was all down to me, or so much of it was down to me, and how I show up makes such a big difference in interactions with other people.
So are you going to share your embarrassing moment?
You want me to do it right now, like straight away? I thought you were going to ease me into it, like slowly.
Let's get on it.
See, you're just going to divert the attention from me, so that all the embarrassing. So don't worry, we'll come back to you, Gabriella, a little bit later on.
Oh.
Yeah, I had some really interesting, dating experiences where I mean, we talked about this yesterday. I used to take it very seriously, and when I would go on a date, it was this really big thing, and everything needed to be right, and I needed to be dressed a certain way, and I needed to wear the right clothes, and every minute detail needed to be perfect. And then kind of when I was with the person, I wasn't really ever with them, right? Because I was in my head trying to think about all these things, and the person never really saw me. So in our conversation and relationship, we have a lot of fun, and we laugh and we joke, and that's a really big part of who I am. And that's also, I would say, the bit of us that is who we really are is also the most attractive part of us as well. And so I was kind of not showing up in that way, and oh God, it's just cringing to think about probably what some of the girls that I've gone on dates with in the past thought of me, because I never showed up as this guy. I would show up as someone else would turn up on the date, and hopefully she would like me enough that over time I would then reveal who I really was over time. But by that time she likes me enough, so maybe she'll kind of handle it, as opposed to just showing up as me kind of day one and just enjoying myself.
I think as a woman, coming on the other side, if you're heterosexual, or even if you're not, but as a woman, one of the things that we tend to do is just have so much concern and so much thinking, really, and opinions and worry about how things are going to go, and this desire to be liked, and also I think we are constantly grading the person. So I think the point that really aligns for me is, even before you go on a date, you have so much in your head already that kind of is already from the get-go working against you having a good time. Is he going to be okay? Is he going to be fun? Are we going to be are we going to be thinking about things in the same way? Is he going to be late? I mean, there's just so much thinking that we do prior to a date that is just really a miracle, right, that we keep on doing. So I think, in reflection for today, I just was reflecting on all the different times that I went on dates, or even now when I just go to a function or I'm going to be meeting somebody, and all the pre-thinking, all the opinions, everything that I have in my head, and how all of that keeps me out of just showing up in a good feeling, what you're calling just being you. So I think we would say that the first thing, and really the only thing that gets in the way of us just enjoying dating, is all of the opinions that we have in our head about it. And
No, carry on.
And it just really reminded me that if you have so many opinions in your mind, it's really, really difficult to just drop into having a good time. So one of the things that we wanted to talk to you guys about is this idea of thinking of dating as going out and playing with another human being, sort of in the same manner that we used to do when we were really, young people. Somebody would come to the door and it's like, hey, can Ankush play or can Gabriella play, and we would just go up to the door and say, hey, let's go and have a good time, without all the opinions and the worrying that we tend to do and that we tend to have about dating. So the reason for that is when you think of dating as just playful, it immediately sets you up in a different play. It immediately sets you up in a different point, and it immediately, I think, allows you to drop into a sense of having fun and having not a lot on it. And actually what happens is the most authentic kind of you shows up, which ultimately really allows you to enjoy your date, which is what we want to do, right? Ultimately, when we're dating, just really enjoy ourselves.
Yeah, what you're talking about really shows me the difference, or points to the difference between childish versus childlike.
Mm.
And I know, kind of growing up, it's like, well, maybe this is just me, but I wanted to always be a grown up, wanted to be a grown up and be mature, and I had this impression that women like mature guys and all the rest of it. And like you say, you kind of lose, or I lost that childlike part of me, that fun, that enjoyment. And we all have that in some part of us. We all have that childlike quality where we're kind of free from all of that thinking about what's the person going to be like. Well, they chew too loudly, or they turned up 2 minutes late, or they were far too early, or they're wearing this, or whatever it is that's going through our heads, and just be there and connect with the person. Because I think anyone in the world, there are probably elements of that we know we don't resonate with, or elements of them that we don't resonate with, and there are a ton of elements that we do resonate with. And I think if we're always looking for the bits that we don't resonate with, well, then that's what we're going to find. And I actually feel that, in comedy, in so many books that are published, there's a lot made of the difference between men and women. There's a lot, men are like this, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, men are like this, women are like that, men are looking for this, women are looking for that. And I don't know if this is true. I don't know if I buy it. I think ultimately whilst there may be differences, I think there's far more in common that men and women are looking for than we are differently. I think both men and women are looking to connect. Both men and women are looking to have enjoyment. No one goes in looking, well, I would like to have a relationship which is not enjoyable. No one says that. No one says I want to have a bad time. I want to have a grumpy partner. I want someone to not love me. I want someone to be really judgmental of me. No one says these things. So we are looking for so many things that are similar. And I was even reading a book today where the author was saying, we're told in society that women are looking for romance and men are not. And he was saying, well, if that was true, why have there ever been any great works of art or poetry or anything written? We're far, far more similar than we are different, in my opinion. And I think recognizing that helps us to connect with another person.
And you will have differences, period. Right? You will have some differences. And yet at the core of our being, I love what you're saying is we all just really want to have a joyful, lighthearted relationship. If you ask, I've worked with men a lot, and I've worked with groups of men, but they're very honest, and the complaints or the wishes, the desires, the hopes are so similar to when I've worked with women. They are so similar. And understanding that when you don't have a lot on dating, when you don't have a lot of opinions about dating, it really frees you to move more into who you are. It really allows you to just sort of drop into who you are without any kind of concern. And it actually has allowed me to appreciate the other person, the uniqueness of the other person, the individuality of the other person. So regardless of whether you have many, many things in common with a person or not, there's something about just looking at dating or looking at being with another human being with a sense of lightheartedness that really allows you, one, to have more fun, and two, to appreciate the person you're with. So I think one of the things that happens is that we have so many there are so many books, there's so much on dating that, I mean, of course you're not going to enjoy it. Of course you're not going to enjoy it if you're thinking, is this the one? Is this, going to be the father of my children? Does he make a lot of money? Is he going to be on time? Where is he going to take me? Am I doing okay? How am I doing? It's almost like we're constantly through dating, rating us and rating them. Am I doing okay? Is he doing okay? Am I doing okay? Is she doing okay? How are we doing? Why did he do this? Why did I do that? What is he going to think about this? So even if you were in a really fun place, you could see how it would be very difficult to just enjoy it. So one of the things that we talked about, Ankush, yesterday is the idea of telling people, look at dating just so you can have a good time. Don't worry so much about where it's going to end up, but just the idea of, if you have this one date, if you have this one moment, if you do have a couple of hours, whether it's coffee or dinner or maybe the weekend, the idea of just taking that time for yourself. And as we do take that time for ourselves, which means just allowing our mind to be as present as possible, what happens is the best qualities show up naturally in you. And just even forgetting about the other person, but just thinking about us, we would be able to appreciate the moment more. We would be able to really appreciate the person more, even if it goes nowhere else. Even if there's never a second date or a following weekend or anything, even if it's just, let's say, just kind of dies after that. But the opportunity to really, in the moment, enjoy fully the opportunity of being with another human being and just kind of playing around, just from the perspective of you're in the playground having fun with another human being. So we really wanted to invite people to do that, because it's also been very similar to the relationship that you and I have had. We had these conversations. We really don't know exactly where we're going, and what tends to happen is everything that we need to do gets done, and yet it's lighthearted, and we laugh a lot and we have fun and all of that.
Yeah, I love what you're saying, because what I also see both in how we are with each other, and also what I've seen kind of in my other relationships, is that when we come to that as well, because again, I used to think, again, there was so much of the other person that impacted how a date went. I know I'm great, I just hope they're okay, right? And when we come to it with like less on our mind, when we come to it with lightheartedness and fun, and this can be true of any relationship, it really has an impact on the other person.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember when I was in work and I'd be having a bad day, and there'd be that one person in the office who, no matter what, they were in a good mood, and they'd be jovial and lighthearted no matter how bad things got, and it kind of, they raise everyone around them.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone feels good around them. And it's the same thing if you go on a date. I've been on a date, and if the other person is you can tell they're there to have a good time no matter what, like they're enjoying themselves and whatever. It brings out the best in you.
Mm-hmm.
And so this if people are listening and thinking, well, I'm great, but what about the other person? We can't really control them. You can't. But I think that the best way to have an enjoyable experience with another person on a date is what you're bringing to that. And if you're bringing that lightheartedness and fun and joy as best as you can, no one's perfect at this, but as best as you can, it's more likely that the other person is going to relax and chill out and have a good time too.
So I think the the 3 points that we wanted to kind of share with you guys is just be aware of your opinions. Be aware of all your belief systems that you have about relationships. Just notice them before you go on dating. Or even if you're dating, I mean, it could be that you're in the middle of an outing and all of a sudden you notice you get really heavy. But just, I think paying attention helps. The second point is going out there with the perspective of, what, let's just go out there in the playground of life and let's hang out together. Let's see what happens. And I think that our third point was really to kind of be a little selfish here. Just you are, if you're dating or if you're in a relationship, you are where you are. The more you can enjoy it, the more you can be free of all the expectations that, sometimes we set up for ourselves, the better time you're going to have. And as a result, often the other person also has a really great time. Which, if dates could be fun, isn't that really what we want? We just want dates to be fun, right? As you were saying, nobody goes out on a date saying, man, I hope I have a horrible time this time. So, I think that's all we have to share with you. It's 12:25 past the hour. I don't know if there's anything else that you want to say, Ankush. Is there anything else that's showing up for you?
Well, I don't know if someone's going to ask a question about this. Maybe you will, but I thought could you talk a little bit more about the selfish part, because that we didn't really expand on that too much.
Oh, the selfish part, yeah.
And I think people could misinterpret that.
Well, the selfish part, just kind of keeping an eye on you, right? You are out there in the date. If you can enjoy it, if you can experience that particular date or that particular experience, that particular moment with a sense of joy, if you can keep an eye on you, what tends to happen is really that the best of us shows up, right? So we tend to be kinder, we tend to be lighthearted, we tend to be more patient, we tend to be less judgmental. And it's actually that kind of feeling in a relationship that often allows other people or invites other people to kind of let their guards down too. You just don't know who you're with in a date. You don't know what their history is. You don't know what they're afraid of. You don't know what they're concerned about. There's just so much that sometimes people come up to a date with that I think if you just keep an eye on you, what your feeling is like, what's your worry in the moment, maybe you get a little self-conscious. Maybe you get a little worried, maybe you get a little insecure. So if you just keep an eye on that and, just really pay attention to you, I think often what happens is everything just flows out of that. The better we are, the better the date will go on. What I mean is, if our thinking and our mind is lighthearted, the feeling of joy will naturally come out of that. And of course, because we're human beings, we tend to enjoy being around that,
Yeah.
So.
And it's getting more and more rare, I find, and maybe I'm biased, maybe I've got a skewed view of life, but I think, like you said, if so many people aren't coming to dates like that, or just in life like that, that I know for me that as I've kind of got less in my head, as I've become less analytical, I guess some people would call it presence, as I've been more present, all my relationships are so different, and people tend to notice that more. Because so many people aren't like that anymore. We've all got that commentary running in our head of like, oh, well, what about this, what about that, or thinking about what you're going to have for dinner later, or we've all got this record running, or tape, or CD, or MP3. I'm going through the decades.
Technology.
Right, running in our heads about what we're thinking, rather than actually just being present. And it's such a gift. right? It's such a gift to just be with someone and give them your attention and just be with them. You know, it's not common. We've all got such busy lives, and you know I've been on dates in the past where, for whatever reason, I knew that I probably wouldn't lead anywhere. But I was like, well, if I'm going to spend the next 45 minutes, an hour with this person, I might as well enjoy it, right? It's no point spending the next hour and not enjoying it. And sometimes like we get surprised. You can meet someone and your gut feel might be like, I don't know, maybe not. But you can either make an excuse and leave, or we'll just give them the benefit of the doubt and just see how it goes.
Well, which is actually in the interview that you did with me, it's actually what happened with me and my husband, right? That at first when we met, I think I had so much in my head that I didn't see him. I only saw my thinking about it, my opinion about that first person, first time. And like you said, even if it doesn't, turn to be the relationship of your life, it's just nice to be in discovery with the other person, in appreciation of the other person. And really, even if it goes nowhere else, for you, you will have a better experience. You will have maybe even appreciation. Maybe there will be a friendship, or maybe you will never see them again. But for that moment, it will be a joyful experience. So
Sorry.
No, that's it.
I was going to say, so if anyone's got any questions, please just drop them into the chat, and Gabriella and I will try and answer them and go through them. Otherwise, we'll carry on talking
forever.
And then you'll get stuck on here. So it's in your interest to send us some questions, disagree with us, ask anything that you want, and we'll address them.
Mm-hmm.
When we were talking about play, while we're waiting for any questions to come through, I remember, it's not an embarrassing story, but I remember going on a date many, many years ago, and I was with this girl, and I kind of knew that I wanted to make it a bit fun and whatever, so we went to play pool because I thought that'd be a bit more interesting. And I think it was the first shot that she took. I kind of like nudged her pool cue on purpose, and then turned around as if it wasn't me. And I remember her turning around and going, right, oh, that's how it's going to be, and it just led to such a more enjoyable experience. But that might not work for everyone. I know that's not everyone.
Somebody might turn around and hit them.
And hit me, but
But it's the spirit, right? I think the spirit. I'm sorry. Yeah. It's just sort of the spirit of lightheartedness versus the spirit of really being serious about dating.
So Nico's got a question. Can you share some thoughts around finding a date and asking someone out? That often still seems like an exception to the principles.
Well, I tell you, I think we were just talking about this in my family, because for me, connecting with people is something that's very, very natural. I've never had any difficulties asking people to come join me, or to do something together. I want to say something. I do have a lot of cultural beliefs about dating, because I was born and raised in Mexico, so my cultural tendency tends to be a little bit more traditional. However, I think, how would you ask a friend out to go play? How would you ask that? I think I just want to point to the fact that there is a feeling of, hey, do you want to go out there and play sometime? When we were little, I just don't think that we had so much thinking about it. It was just sort of like an effortless question. It just arose in us, right? So for me, even today, even with friends, or with my husband, or just in general in my life, there's a point where something rises in me that says, I really would love to do this with you. Would you be interested? Or hey, hey honey, do you want to go on a bike ride, or with my friends, even people that I just started meeting, what I notice is there's like this question, this desire of me to want to spend a little bit more time with them. And and I think the point is we are because we're going so quickly and we are so much into opinion that we don't hear these bubbles of wisdom. We don't hear these gentle inquiries to want to spend more time with a person, and then we get all, trampled into our opinion and concerns. But I think it's just really honestly the most natural thing out there. We know how to do this. We know how to be social beings. It is within our nature.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think the only thing that gets in the way of us, if you like someone and you want to ask them out, the only thing I can imagine getting in the way of that is your thinking about it. What does it mean? What if they say no? What if I get embarrassed? Or whatever thoughts you've got about it. But it's just thoughts. And, if you want to ask someone, just ask them. Again, as I saw the question, I remember a few years ago, there was a girl that I liked, and I thought she got on well with me. And then, like the day later or something, she was going on a date with my friend. I was like, "Oh, how come you two are going on a date? Like, how did that happen?" And he said, "Oh, I just asked her." Yeah, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's what I didn't do."
Something just happened to me this weekend, and I think it relates really good to what we're talking about. My cousin I have this male cousin that's visiting, and we went out to the Oktoberfest in San Francisco, and I had this idea of like, I'm just going to ask as many girls to see if they would be willing to take a picture with them. Okay, so girls that were dressed up and stuff. So, my husband and I were kind of on this trip here. So he would go and ask the girls, and a lot of the girls were like, yes, yes. And, I would ask some girls, and most of them would say yes. And I asked this one girl, and I said, hey, would you be willing to go to take a picture with my cousin? And she just turns around and she looks at me up and down, and she goes, no. And I just sort of felt like, whoa, I felt like put on blast, like all of a sudden. I mean, there were like a million people dancing, but I just sort of felt like all eyes went on me, which of course it didn't happen. But I remember I felt really embarrassed. I felt really insecure. I felt really shy. I actually was kind of like, well, I'm not going to ask anymore. So I can appreciate all the thinking that we experience as human beings, because we don't like to be, what's that word? We don't like to be, well, we don't like to feel bad, right? We just really don't like to feel bad. So I can imagine that as a guy, generally guys are the ones that are asking, that can get to you. And then after a while, kind of like in that particular instance for me, you're just holding on to it because you experience distress, you experience embarrassment, you experience insecurity so deeply, right? That you're like, well, I don't want to do that again. That was not fun. The rejection part of it, I think it feels really heavy. And yet, it's so nice to remember that it had nothing to do with me. The rejection of me had nothing to do with me. It had to do really with the fact that that person at that moment did not want to take a picture. That's it.
And you're right, and thanks for bringing that up. And again, what occurs to me is that really it feels like we're rejected, but I don't think we can ever be rejected, like as people. And that's, I guess, what maybe a lot of guys are scared of. Like you said, it's not about you. The other person might be having a bad day, they just don't want to interact or whatever it is, but that doesn't mean you are rejected. It just means that the request that you put out into the world was not accepted.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for me, you're right, I used to feel like that was one in the same. If I asked someone out, or if I even asked to talk, you wanted to talk to someone and they said no, it was I was being rejected as opposed to the request was being rejected. Mm-hmm. I kind of made the request of me the same thing. Mm-hmm. And they aren't the same thing.
No.
and one is kind of impersonal. It's like a request is being rejected, and the other one is very personal. And of course, if it were us that was being rejected, it makes sense that we wouldn't want to ask anyone out. It's very risky. But actually, if it's just a request that is either accepted or rejected, then it's, it's like saying, do you want to come out and play? If your next door neighbour says, oh, I can't today, you're like, oh, okay, well, next time. And it's
Right.
it's just a request.
Yeah, it's just a request.
So I hope that answers your question, Nico, but if you've got any follow-up, sorry, were you going to say something?
No. I just wanted, actually, I wanted to check on that. Do we have any other question, or how are we doing? Any other comments? Maybe we have comments. Maybe it doesn't have to be a question.
Yeah. So either we've answered everything that anyone could possibly want to know about dating, or people have fallen asleep. It's one or the other. So.
There could be more. There are more options, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I think just to encapsulate everything really, I think for me, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this with Ankush is because at the heart of our relationship, there has been a lightheartedness, and there has been a joy. And I mean, I think this is the third time or fourth time we talk or something. I mean, we just really don't know each other. We don't have a long history. We don't know their likes and dislikes, and yet there is just human commonality. There is this human connection that has touched us, even in a very brief interaction, through the technology only, because we don't really know each other live. And yet the spirit of the spirit, the human spirit, is just very much alive. So, and I wanted to thank you for that, actually.
No, I'm glad to be able to share my joy with you and myself. It's a perfect segue, because actually you're right, we haven't met each other, but we will be. We'll be meeting in person in November. So I know you are traveling because you live in California, and you're coming over to the UK in November. And so, as I mentioned earlier on, we're going to be doing an event. The price is very cheap. At the moment, we've got some super early bird tickets left at £10, but the price is going up in 2 days. We've already got 27 people coming to the event, and we just wanted to make it just really fun. This is, to me, this isn't work. This is just fun for me, and I would love to kind of meet a lot of people that probably have seen me online and seen Gabriella. And if you're able to get to the UK in November on the 6th, then please do so. I believe Corey, who is the technical wizard, will suddenly pop something up on the screen so you can see and click and get a ticket if you want to. I have no idea if I'm going to be able to see it too, so I'm kind of, oh, it's popped apparently. So hopefully you'll be seeing that. So
it hasn't popped on my screen yet, so, but I guess I'm coming. So
yeah, you're coming. So you'll be there and I'll be there. So I guess we don't need to see it.
You don't need to see it though.
But
could you tell people the theme or the title of this event?
Yeah, the event is called Rediscover the Fun in Your Relationship, and it's just, I don't know if you want to talk more about that. For me, it was just, again, the theme of fun and enjoyment and lightheartedness. We are probably being talking about romantic relationships, but having said that, I think a lot of that event will be questions and answers. So again, if people have got any kind of questions around relationships, I know at least one person who's coming is single, so it's kind of really a catch-all around relationships for anyone that wants to come. But the particular thing that we will be focusing on is rediscovering that sense of joy and love in a longer-term relationship. Which brings me on to a question by Rob, who's saying, what about long-term dating? Hoping to develop a long-term relationship with both emotional and physical intimacy. That seems to be an enduring stumbling block.
Well, interesting that you asked, because that's one of our themes, and I think it's not for next week, but the week after, right, where we're going to be talking about rekindling your passion in your relationship. And, Rob, is that the person that asked?
Yeah.
Rob. So I would say So I have been married for 9 years. My husband and I have been together for 12 years, and we have our ups and downs, of course, right? We have our moments of disagreement and all. But I would say that pretty much the same principles apply. Because I think when you're in a long-term relationship, one of the first things that we start doing is we start cementing mentally our opinions about our partner. And combined with our schedules, it's a really good combination to squeeze joy and presence out of the relationship. But we will be talking about more about this particular theme again, not next week, but the week coming up, right? Ankush, yes, I'm getting to.
Rob has said, I meant trying to establish a long-term relationship, not just casual dating.
Yes, so marriage, I would say, qualifies as that. And I could tell you that one of the things that has helped my husband and I a lot, on my part anyway, is just really noticing all my opinions. I have a lot of opinions. It's like I'm an opinion machine. I make up opinions a lot. And catching them. It's just really beautiful when I get to see my husband all new again. When I just really get to be with him and discover him a lot. So I think as a principle, there's something very valuable to noticing, understanding that your own opinion about people and your own opinion about your partner often gets in the way of intimacy and joy. And at least in my marriage, what I can tell you is that when we are really dancing in joy, intimacy sort of comes along, sometimes in a very, kind of a sexual way, but also sometimes just in a very human way, just in the most beautiful friend-to-friend kind of a way. So I just so much appreciate when I'm able to see the wholeness of my husband and the beauty of my husband, and to notice that my opinions about him are not him. They're just my opinions about him.
I remember when we spoke, I think the first time we spoke, when you talked about meeting your husband as well, it was one thing that stuck out for me was the fact that you didn't go into that dating experience looking for a relationship.
Correct.
And it was kind of going in with no expectation. So, I mean, for me, to answer Rob's question, in my opinion, it's kind of the same thing. It's the same approach, whether it's a long-term relationship or casual, because at the beginning, you don't know. And I think for me, there really isn't a difference between, where it goes, because you don't know. And for me, certainly it's about taking it kind of one day at a time. Because I know in the past when I had gone into dating but I need to settle down, and I'm already this age, and I need to, I can't be wasting time with casual dating now. It was no surprise that no dates really went anywhere, because I was bringing that seriousness to it, and it's like, oh, it needs to fit into a box or needs to go a certain direction. And currently I'm with someone, and we just took it one day at a time, and it's gone so much better. And in fact, one of the things that I kind of live by is when I'm up in my head, when I'm not in a good place, when I'm not thinking clearly, that's not the best time to have a serious conversation with my partner. It's not the best time to make a decision about the relationship, whether they're the right partner for me or not. So many things, because I realize that I'm just not thinking straight. And that one thing has been huge for me in terms of having a longer term relationship.
So enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Just enjoy yourself. I think that's the best way to create intimacy, actually.
And don't put anything on it, right? Let things unfold, because I think that's what you're looking for, that connection, that's already there. And I know that from other dating experts and stuff that I've met and have talked to, some of them have talked about it's not about us doing anything. It's about getting out of our own way. And it's it's doing less rather than doing more. So again, you know, like you say, it's very simple. What we're pointing to, people might think it's too simple, but it really is just about showing up, having fun, not putting too much on it. And if that starts bleeding, then stay with that. And yes, you'll have more serious conversations, but again, keeping that lightheartedness. No one, I don't think anyone wants to be in a serious relationship where there is no joy, there is no lightheartedness, there is no fun. You know, that's the thing that drives people apart, in my opinion. So I hope that's answered your question, Rob.
And we also invite you to come in a couple of weeks. I mean, certainly we're going to be.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Ankush?
Well, I was just going to say we're doing a webinar every week for 5 weeks. Next week it will be pre-recorded, but there will be a different topic every single week that we will be covering. And so, you know, please by all means come back again. And you know, if we haven't answered your question, you know, you feel free to drop us an email or something that you know, we'd be happy to pick it up on a future webinar for everyone. Arthur's got a...
I'm sorry, the topic for next week is, are we really compatible?
Yeah.
So we have a lot to say about that. Yeah.
So if you've got any questions for that, let us know. Arthur's got a question. What is the one thing that has to be there if the date should be considered a good one? Just one thing. Is it a kiss at the end of the night? Is that what it is?
Oh no, I don't know. I don't know.
Dancing?
Be a kiss.
Dancing, no. Good-looking partner. What's the one thing?
You know, I think for me, it's really going back to, you know what, that was nice. That was really nice. You know, I mean, I don't know if there was something specific. You know, I love to eat. I love to walk. I like to have fun. I'm very active, you know. But I think for me, at the end of the day, and I think actually it's what happened with my husband, you know, we would have fun running, and then we would also have fun painting, and then we would have fun just going and have a hamburger on the side of the road. I mean, it just sort of felt like there was a nice feeling of connection, regardless of whatever we did. And sometimes actually, you know, at the beginning there were no kisses, which it's a complaint that he had. But later there were some kisses, but I think...
After marriage, right?
Yeah, just after marriage, of course. I was a good Catholic. But it was always just this nice, like, that was nice, you know. It was lighthearted. Do you know what it was, actually? I noticed time went by effortlessly. It just was like, wow, it's already 10 o'clock. Wow. So I noticed that happen a lot. You know, time seems to go by quickly when you're just really enjoying yourself.
Yeah, you're so right. I mean, if it is just one thing, Arthur, that has to be there, or not even has to be there, but one thing that for me has made a date a good date in the past, it's been connection. Exactly what you said, connection. Because there's so many other variables, like you say. Some people like something, some people like another. Some days I'm in one mood, some days I'm in the mood for something else. But the underlying piece for me has been connection.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just me, I don't know, but I think I think in a way that's what a lot of people are searching for, right? To just connect with another human being. Really, underneath it all, it's just connection. Matthias is just saying the same thing. The one thing for me is connection. If it feels like you're really connected, I'm guessing, with the other person. Absolutely, it's the same thing. That's what we're all looking for. We all just want to connect.
Right, and see, that connection is really hard when there's so many opinions in the way, because you have your opinions and then the other person has their opinions, right? And it's like, is this serious? Where is this going? What do we need to do? Did she show up right? Did he show up right? Like, if all of this, like, it's in between you and the other person, it's really hard to feel that connection. As that drops away, the connection is more likely to happen.
Yeah, because rather than two people, there can be four people there. There's you, there's the other person, but there's your opinions of that person, and there's their
Hmm.
opinions,
Hmm.
and then your opinions of yourself and their opinions of themselves. So maybe there's
Yeah,
six
so
people
it's a group
there.
dating experience.
Right. So if we can just drop that as best we can, I mean, it might not be easy, but as best we can, just drop that and just be there. I think that connection is already there, and it's interesting for me in all walks of life that as I've started to understand this, that I find myself more connected to more people, just in general.
Sure, sure.
And
That's why, yeah, yes. Sorry, go on.
that's what kind of shows me always there, just not seeing it before. So we're coming up to 5 to 9. Do we have any more questions from anyone in the audience? Have we answered what it is that you were looking to get out of this? We didn't really ask anyone what they were looking to get out of it beforehand, but you've got a few minutes if you want us to answer anything that we haven't covered, or please feel free to violently disagree with us if you think we're not.
You're completely wrong.
Yeah,
That would be okay.
yeah.
Well,
Feel also gone.
also, I think people could write emails, right? Like they can write us emails um,
Yeah.
if we don't
So
have time to answer everything.
yeah. So my website is ankushjain.co.uk. You can contact me through that. Gabriella, your website, can people contact you through that as well?
Yeah, you can contact us at truechangeconsultants.com. If you go to the us or about us, you can send me an email.
Yeah.
That's truechangeconsultants.com.
You can also let us know who's got the more fun background,
Shush.
which is what
Or
we
the
were
fun
talking about.
shirt.
Or the fun shirt, yeah.
Or blouse in this case.
Yeah.
But we hope that, we really hope that we were able to contribute something to this topic, and that, as you move forward in your relationship, whatever that is, dating, marriage, etc., to really, I just really, from the bottom of my heart, wish you lightheartedness and joy.
Yeah. I think that's the one thing that we could both agree on.
Well, thank
Um,
God.
yeah, absolutely. Well, good, right? Because otherwise this would be not so good a webinar, because we'd just be disagreeing with each other.
We disagree.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was going to say this is one thing that we can agree on, and I think for me, if it was one thing I'd want people to take away, it's the childlike nature of relationships. Showing up in a childlike way is the best way for connection.
Mm.
That doesn't mean childish, but showing up with not a lot in your mind and just wanting to connect with the person. And if they do, they do, and if they don't, they don't. It's got nothing to do with you.
Okay, well, should we wrap it up?
Let's wrap it up. Okay,
Okay.
guys, join us next week, which will be pre-recorded, and we've got everyone's email address, and we'll just send it out to everyone next week. Um,
Alrighty.
and if you feel like it, please come and join us in Birmingham too.
Okay, Ankush, until next week.
Until next time.
Alrighty. Bye.